Boom, baby, let's do this. I wish I'd have took that opportunity. I wish I'd have started that career. I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have played my daughter more. It's like you have to realize, guys, it's now. You've only got now. Why are you not fixing this problem? Why are you telling people you can never recover? Why are you telling people that they need to do this to stay sober? It's just not true. You can do it with anything. It's like going to a gym and building your biceps. Unless the reps are there, you're not going to move any forward. So the reps of doing something in layman's terms, stepping out the comfort zone and trying this, 99.9% of the time, man, you'll be so glad you did.
We try to do something new and we feel that maybe we're not there yet. You feel like, oh, well, you're not going to be this person. You can never be this person. So what's going on with imposter syndrome?
We had a freaking business that run the country for 4 years with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me you can't achieve your goals, because it's just not true. Hey guys, my name is Dr. Robb Kelly over in San Antonio, Texas. But as you can tell from the accent, in case you think it's East Texas, I'm from Manchester, England, been over in Texas for 18 years. We specialize in addiction, alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, Alzheimer's, and onset dementia. We have 5 offices around the world, and we love what we do because we do what we love. So we're kind of psychologists, neuroscientists, behavioral scientists, and we have the latest software that we've been using on 9-dimensional subliminal breathwork. That's a mouthful.
There's so much there. It's a short introduction, but there's so much there that we could get into. Okay, so I guess let me start with this. The addiction stuff. Is there a specific place that you kind of focus on with that? Is it just general addiction, or?
There's a lot of things that we believe in, tried and tested. We've been into neuroscience for about 9 years, knowing quite well that the brain is more powerful when it comes to addiction and alcoholism than one would think. So there's a permanent way to eliminate drug addiction or cake, food, sex. Alcoholism is different because alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. But we focus, again, on the neuroscience, and we don't focus on the alcohol or drugs. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same down the line. So hence the saying on most of the stuff you see me on is, I didn't have a drinking problem, I had a thinking problem. If we get this right, we can get this right. And then the substance becomes de minimis.
So you said that people with alcoholism are born and drug addicts are made. What do you mean by that?
Well, our research shows us that alcoholism is passed down from generation. It can skip a generation, but it's passed down. We're born with a couple of things that any other addiction's not. First of all, we're born with the allergy to ethanol. Everybody alcoholic has an allergy to ethanol. Right. And then 3 parts of the brain that differ from any other addiction is the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala. So most of them are deformed slightly. That's why it's a disease. Once the hypothalamus tells us to drink, that's our survival part of the brain, then that's why it's a disease, because the choice is taken away from us.
And so how does that differ from like the drug addiction? How is that different? How, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how is that not genetic? Because you hear people say like addiction is a disease, like if you have a person in your family who has an addiction, the likelihood that you develop some sort of addiction is increased, or at least that's the way I understand it. That might not be correct.
That's learned behavior and the addictive personality. 93% of people that come to us, we've done about 9,500 patients over 30 years, but 94% people that come to us with a heroin addiction or cocaine addiction started in the doctor's office. So we know that it's the addicted personality that presents the drug addiction. And that's why, again, alcoholics are slightly different. The treatment is exactly the same. But there is a slight difference. And it's important that people know about that, If you have the addictive personality, you can get addicted to many things. But once we clear that up, all addicts and alcoholics are geniuses.
Okay, so if so I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. If somebody has a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction, or let's say something this, I don't know if this is the space that you get into, like a sex addiction or something like that. Are we saying that's the same brain, the pathways in the brain, that's the same pathways, or or are they?
with
No.
drugs. It's
Okay.
addictive personality that affects the basal ganglia, which is our repetition part of the brain. Childhood
Okay.
trauma in certain cases defaults. So if you can imagine a clock face, the basal ganglia is our thought patterns over and over again. Like a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air. It's kind of that before it becomes a working part of the brain. It's the same with drug addiction. But the hypothalamus, that's where it's at, is not affected with any kind of addiction apart from alcoholism. So the hypothalamus is our survival part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it tells normal people from day one, from birth, you need to drink water and you need to eat food to survive. That much so, it's already a part of the working brain. So the basal ganglia doesn't play into here when newborn baby. We just know, hands down mouth, crying because I'm hungry, as babies do. At a certain point, this is our trials, tests, and studies, at a certain point with the alcoholic, the hypothalamus turns around and tells the alcohol to drink alcohol only to survive.
Hmm.
So everything else, that's why we can go days or weeks without food or water, because our primary instincts is telling us if we don't get alcohol inside our system, we're going to die, even though it's completely to the contrary. That's what our hypothalamus is telling us. Now, if the survival part of the brain takes to do something, then you do it. You can't question it, because all this reacts to that. So what happens is he tells drink alcohol and away we go. And unless them 3 points are changed, you're always going to relapse. Childhood trauma is the gateway drug. So we've linked food, trauma to all addictions. All addictions can be created from the trauma. But when alcoholics are born that way, the minute we take the first drink, we're done. It's only a matter of time. That's what we found in our research.
Well, that's an incredible finding. Okay, so the hypothalamus, which is essentially related to survival, is that the explanation of why I think alcohol and, if I'm not mistaken, benzodiazepine are those related to that? I think that's the only two things that you can actually die from the withdrawal itself of the substance. Is that correct? Is that somewhere accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, and is that because of the hypothalamus?
It's because of several things. The survival part of the brain will keep telling us to take it all day long. Mm-hmm. So when we have to withdraw from it, it's first of all the childhood trauma, secondly the basal ganglia, the repetition strength, the confirms part. Once we start getting into all that and repatterning the brain, that's when things change. So taking alcohol away suddenly can cause all sorts of respiratory, heart problems, stuff like that, and you can actually die. First you go to the DTs and then you'll pass. So the biggest myth I tell somebody is, if you find your husband drinking, he's really, really bad, and you're taking him to treatment, don't throw all the alcohol away. Keep feeding him bits till we get to the treatment center or hospital, and then they can medically carry on with that. I've never heard of diazepam. I've never heard anybody die of that, to be honest. So most people on drugs, when they come off drugs instantly, you can't die as such unless you have heart problems, lung problems, but it sure feels like it.
Mm. I might be mistaken on that. I heard something along the benzodiazepine addiction or dependence. I know there's a different word for it, but so you mentioned the amygdala, which I understand is the fear center of the brain. That that's one of the main functions of that. How is that connected to this?
The amygdala is connected to what you just said, but it's also connected to childhood trauma.
Okay,
it's,
okay.
Sort of the second subconscious brain that holds all the stuff in. So the monster behind all these addictions is the subconscious brain, where everything is stored. Everything you see, hear, feel, touch from birth, trillions and trillions of memories are there, and they're always there. They never go away. You can recall everything from your past given the right treatment. And we do the 9D and the brain spotting and stuff like that to pull them memories through. But what's hard to do is something that you're doing here that you're not being successful in, or you failed in relationships, your kids have been taken away. This is directly correlated to this as a child that happened, that you probably don't think this was trauma when it happened. Mm-hmm. Like for me, my mum and dad used to drop me off at their friends every Friday night. And then they'd go to the bars and drink, have a good time, go back home, sleep it off, pick me up Saturday morning. But what happened when they pulled out the driveway, we'd play a game what's called a run around naked game. So they used to molest us and tickle us naked, me and my sister, and we thought that's natural. It's a game. We don't know any better. The stuff and the traumatic events and the trauma itself from that one incident with me ruined most relationships. I definitely didn't get, undressed at the pool, anything like that, because the brain told me that every time you undress, someone's going to abuse you.
Okay. Okay. So so the amygdala, which is essentially the fear center of the brain, is the way I understand it. And you're saying it's the connection to this trauma. So the addiction is like a self-soothing mechanism.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. Once you're going through the trauma, anything to get outside me will work. So with the addictive personality, whether good at it or not, we're either great or we don't do it. We're either pregnant or we're not. There's no half measures with us. That's exactly where it lies. We try something that gets us out of ourselves and we like it and we continue doing it because that's what we do. Addicts and alcoholics don't start businesses. They create empires. So they do the same with drugs and alcohol, the same thing. They will use it until they can't use it anymore. So once we fix that problem and the childhood trauma and reroute the neural pathways and heal the parts of the brain we're talking about, then you literally can do anything you want with your life. And again, this is new science that we've been doing for about 18 months. And the stats from that, because most people, when you say, like, oh, I've never heard that, I don't believe that. Listen, guys, there's no money in recovery. Unless the pharmaceutical companies give you a pill or stick you in a treatment center for 20 grand a month, nobody wants to know you. We have in-depth gone into this and had amazing results, permanent results over this with the neuroscience that we use today. Because everything can be fixed, and people don't believe that because they're stuck in the old modality. They're stuck in the old modality of what a treatment center looks like, or treatment looks like, going back to 50s and 60s textbook. The information that they're using today is not the new neuroscience that we have. It's the only reason we offer a money-back guarantee. There's nobody in the world dare do that. Why? Why are you not fixing this problem? Why are you telling people you can never recover? Why are you telling people that they need to do this to stay sober? It's just not true. It's not true.
One thing that I'm hearing right here, and the connection that I'm making with this. So I talked to a couple of people, and I've known a couple of people who have battled with this kind of addiction and this kind of stuff. When they are trying to pursue that thing, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever, they become the most ambitious people on the planet. It's like that system is there, and they have tapped into that. And it's from what I'm hearing you say is, first of all, we have that layout in our brain. We have that ability to pursue a thing to whatever degree to make that thing happen. But then it's what you're saying is, it sounds like the healing that trauma is the cure to addiction.
It's the gateway drug. It's 90% of it.
Okay.
Definitely 90% of it. Without a doubt, and that's it. But we are geniuses. When you recover from the addiction that you have, you can become a very powerful person. And that powerful person needs to move forward, taking care of his family, getting your kids back, whatever it is. We're 100% accurate at doing that. Most of the people I've worked with run governments, highest paid movie stars in the world, these stuff that have come back from nothing to be these powerful people. 90-something% of that is the childhood trauma.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the people that go through this versus the people that don't, why do they have this superpower basically to get these high achievements? What's the difference there?
Well, I'll tell you about myself. I died twice on the streets in Manchester. So when I actually got off with a spiritual awakening, got off the streets, this was my attitude, and this is what we teach our patients, is we get 2 lives in one lifetime. Do you agree? They go, yeah. Why would you mess the second one up? We messed the first one up. Why do you mess the second one up? Why don't you go for something that you never thought you'd ever get because of the enmeshment and learned behavior from childhood? Like, you're not supposed to be a doctor. You're not supposed to be a football player. You're not supposed to be a millionaire. When we were kids, man, back home we kicked footballs. Over here, let's say you're throwing football to each other, 9, 10 years old. Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be an astronaut. What about you, Billy? I want to be a professional ball player. What happened to them dreams? I'll tell you. They were kicked out of us by our family and friends, unfortunately, because our dreams were stomped on. So as we grow into teens and go forward, they're still stomped on with the knowledge that I will never be as good as, and I could never do this. So if you're sat at home right now thinking you're never good enough, you can't achieve anything, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. Babies
Exactly.
are born with two fears: falling, loud noises. The rest are man-made. We're born with $1 million minds. Why are we hanging around 10-cent minds?
That's a good point. But okay, so if we're born with, that's the only fear that we're born with, which means that everything else we learned, and even these limiting beliefs that we might have about ourselves are learned. But why is it that we have to go through something like an addiction and break that addiction before we learn that? I mean, why can't we, I don't want to say bypass that because that sounds like, that's not the right verbiage to use, but what is it that I mean, I don't know, man, because you look at it just not even about addiction. You look at any person who's been through some sort of traumatic thing in their life, some sort of hard thing in their life. They're almost always, if they come out of it and they learn from it, they're almost always a better person because of it. So I'm just, and I mean, this is 100% a rhetorical question. I don't think it can be answered, but it's just like, why do we have to go through that to experience that? I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here.
Well, if you think about normal life, it's stressful, it's worry, you watch the TV, you're worried about war, you're worried about this, da, 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 da. When you go through all of that shit and you come out the other side, why wouldn't you do something crazy? The law of attraction is not what you think it is. So if I want to watch, say, the Dallas Cowboys, which I don't right now, but let's say I want to watch the Dallas Cowboys, I'm sitting in front of the TV, I've got the remote control, I know they're on channel 30, 3, oh, boom. Cowboys are there. Now, I'm that enthralled in the game, my brain thinks I'm there. I'm cheering, I'm screaming at the players, I'm screaming at the ref, I'm jumping up and down because my brain thinks I'm there.
Right.
Then give that remote control to a kid, and he's flicking through the channels, and all of a sudden you're distracted. Now you're aware they've got another 40 or 50 channels around you. We need to grab that remote control and put it back to 30 so we can concentrate. So when we're seeing what the world can bring and how bad and how far down we've got and sick, or I was the one that survived from the airplane or whatever, it focuses us into having that second life and believe that what's the worst thing that can happen to me that I haven't already done to myself. So we'll get a second win. And there are millions of people that do this and don't get affected by trauma or drugs or anything. It just gives you that second look at life. Most people walking around today at their 45 to 50% of what they really can do. Because that's how America and England, that's how they teach us to grow up. They keep us dubbed down. You can only get this, you come from the project. It's bullshit, man. It's all fear that we can do this stuff. So we learn that from our parents and caregivers. That I was born on the project, Section 8, when I was born back in England, the equivalent of. My brother grew up doing the same thing as they did. He lives in a council house. He lives on projects. He still does now. He's 55 years old. That was the mindset I was supposed to have. But because of my addiction and alcoholism, I changed that route. I wanted to ask what was more. So we went into exactly what's going on here pertaining to the addiction side. We was aghast. And when we teach that to other people, they go, you know something? And show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you're hanging around 9 depressed guys, you're going to become the 10th. If you're hanging around 9 guys you want to be like, you're going to become the 10th. Yep. So it's not only the childhood trauma, it's our current situation. You see, you can go back there and I can go back to the projects and help my guys. I just can't live there anymore.
So, okay, so this is what I'm gathering from this is this you said, I forgot how you phrased it, but you said basically you overcome this thing. So what else out there in the world is there that you can't? So basically what I'm hearing with this is that you overcome yourself, you overcome the worst part of yourself, and now you're able to overcome anything that could come against you in the world.
Correct.
Yeah.
100% correct. Yeah. Once you've been down to a certain level of the mindset, the poverty, the fear that, if you died on the streets and they bring you back, all that stuff, you come out the other end saying, hey, what's the worst can happen today then? Because I've done all that and I didn't die. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? And we take more chances. I was in Dallas. I have an office in Dallas now. And I signed an office deal for $1 million. People thought I was insane. This was like 10 years ago. You are insane. How do you sleep at night? What the hell can they do to me? What are they going to do? They're going to take the office off me? Ask me if I care? I don't care. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks of me today. I don't care. What are they going to do? And it's that mindset that takes us into this genius mindset. So addiction and the likes and PTSD, it's not an affliction. It's a freaking superpower, man. And this is what we've been trying to teach people. It's stop putting the brakes on your imagination. Stop living life other people say, oh, he's an alcoholic. Who gives a shit, man? Mm-hmm. What you can do, what the human brain can do, and the mind is mind-blowing, pardon the pun. It's way beyond what you think you can do. But we never do.
Well, it's like, but even if these, and the connection that I love about this is even if these things happen to you, people say something to you, you know, you make this deal, it doesn't go through, it's still the story that you tell yourself from your own mind about what that means. So it's still like it's almost like the meaning of it is subjective to you. Like what could that mean to you? Like what's the worst possible case that could mean to you? So it still comes from internally, like, you know, from you.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned a good point that I want to ask you about since you're in this space. I was talking to somebody recently, and we were talking about, you know, the power of the mind, like the power of belief. And we were talking about, you know, you think about it, like they bring a new drug to the market, a new pill for whatever reason, and they do studies on it, and they have different groups, a control group and all that kind of stuff. And they give one group the actual medication and one group a different medication, you know, whether it's a sugar pill or something, you know, that doesn't exist. Yeah. And so, yeah, the placebo, because they have to factor in the fact that people will think results in their own brain, in their own physiology. So we already know this, like scientifically, that this is a thing. So why would it not make sense that how you think about yourself can literally alter yourself?
Yeah. You got to remember, the brain doesn't know the difference between true and false. Okay. So what if you live this false life and start acting that way and start believing that way and started walking, sleeping, eating that way? Then surely it'll become. And the answer is it will become. That's one of the keys to life. There was a great knee surgeon, German knee surgeon, called 10 people in. 8 was having an operation, 2 was placebo. He told them up front, but he said everything was free. All had knee problems. They brought them in, they did everything. A couple of days later, they brought them back in. What they didn't tell 2 of them was they still cut the knee open. The 2 people that had knee problems, but no knee operation, placebo, walked fine for the rest of their lives. And that's what we're about. If we can get you in a state where you believe this will happen, then it happens. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work, but it's what we believe and what we understand about ourselves and other people. The other people are telling us all the time, so we have less belief in it. I hate that with childhood trauma. And what we do is we go for that. Let's say it's a manager's job. We go for it, but either just before we get it or during the interview, we self-sabotage it in ways you don't even think you do. We don't get the job. It's like the girl growing up in a household where dad's a chronic alcoholic and he comes home 2 or 3 nights a week and she's like 7 or 8 years old. He comes home drunk and he gets into a fist fight with mom and he beats her up and they all go to bed and they get up the next morning and dad says, oh, I'm sorry, I love you. And she goes, I love you too. She grows up believing that's love. So she 100%, we've tried and tested this, will attract the same guy who ends up beating her. To the extent, because it's normal, to the extent that if she meets a good guy who starts to look after her, she'll self-sabotage that relationship. And that's where the actions come from.
Because she wants to feel comfortable. She wants to feel what she thinks love is.
See, that's exactly what it is, Cody, and that's what people don't understand. There was a girl in Manchester got snatched off the streets back in 68, 69. Schoolgirl, blue eyes, blonde hair. There was a massive hunt for her. They couldn't find her. 9 months later, a police car is following another car down a country road, broken back light, pulls him over. Now, back in the day, 68 didn't have any internet or radios. Well, they had radios, but they were crap. So you search the car, and this is how they used to check it's your car. What you have in the trunk. I have a screwdriver and a pair of boots, a yellow jacket. Open it, it's there, it's your car. This guy was being cagey, so they opened and searched the car. They found a stolen screwdriver, that's all. Now they go back to the house and they're allowed to search the rest of the house for other stolen goods. And they found lawnmowers, drills that were all stolen from the local hardware store. But while they were doing that, they saw a box in the corner that was padlocked. It was about 12 foot wide by about 4 foot high. They said, we know you've got stuff in there. So they smashed the lock off, opened it, and there was the girl that went missing 9 months ago. She was alive. She was bruised and battered. He used to take her out every day. He used to abuse her, bathroom break, shower or bath back in the day and then back in the box for 9 months, Cody. As the policewoman leant over and she took this young girl's hand and she helped her climb outside the box. She took her police coat off and she put it around this young kid. What's the first thing she did? She got back in the box. And that's what life's all about, is we keep getting back in the box, that comfort zone, because even though it's painful, we still know it's painful, so that's a comfort zone rather than the unknown. And that's the way most people live.
Yeah, that's a very profound way to explain that. But I see the connection there because I think that most of us will stay in that comfortable, the familiar. We'll stay in the familiar more than we will pursue the uncomfortable if it leads to something better, because we just don't know. We just don't know. Like, but so, man, there's so much that I want to say on this. Like, what is it that stops us from that? It's like the fear of the uncomfortable. Like, or we just want to be what's familiar or what we know, or we just don't know. Maybe we don't know what we don't know.
Everyone fears the future. Everyone's fearful of what might happen tomorrow. And that's not the way to live, is today. And that fear has been grown up from, again, enmeshment and passed down behavior. And we get this fear, we act on fear. So rather than go for something that might be good, there's a great comedian out there, I forget who he is, but his dad was a comedian, just like him. And he had the opportunity to go down to London and star in this show that would have made him a success. The guy that did it became a success, the guy that did it instead of him. But he stayed in his safe job. He was an accountant. 2 years later, after that safe job and after that audition, the firm closed down and let him go. And the moral of that story is, you might as well try 100% for what you do want to do than sit that won't you don't. Because everyone thinks fear about the future. No, the fear is now. Why are you staying in this? Why are you staying doing that? Why are you comfortable? If you're comfortable in life, you're doing something wrong. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're doing something wrong. You never want to be the smartest guy in the room. And you take the chance and take that leap where it's God, Uncle Jimmy, universe, tarot cards. It's been presented to you for a reason. And you need to do your trauma work and get out of that normal box and create something amazing. The people that I've worked with, you would probably frown and go, really? With the problems they've had, who's gone on now to run multi-billion-dollar companies. But they were stuck in that comfort, not even addiction, Cody, stuck in that mindset of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. That's why most companies that come from addiction backgrounds always make it, because they've seen the bad time. I don't have any fear today. There's a couple of things that people say that's not true. I'm not fearful. I fear no man. It's not true. It's just not true. Whatever you say to me, it doesn't bother me. That's not true. It crucifies us. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's so not right. It's unbelievable. But get to a point where you really don't give a shit what people think about you. Okay? Really, literally don't care what you think about me. And I'm in a great place today, psychologically. And that was from taking that first step off the streets. Because I got pretty comfortable on the streets, Corey. I had it all sorted out. I get vodka at 10 a.m., I drink and lie around all day in the air. 8 o'clock, I go near the clubs. When it started coming out at 10 o'clock, I'd knock somebody out, steal the wallet, go back. That was a daily occurrence for me. That became my comfort zone. And I was scared to step out of that. How insane is that? How insane is it? But once you step out, man, there's a reason why you're stepping out or being given the opportunity. Nothing happens by mistake in this world. There's so much going on science-wise around you, because I can tell you this from my own experience. Everything you want, everything you need, everything you've wished or dreamt is all around you right now. You just can't see it.
So before we move too far away from this, I want to backtrack. A couple minutes ago, we were talking about the discomfort. I'm sure you know who Andrew Huberman is, Dr. Andrew Huberman.
Yes.
And so on his podcast, he's talked about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I think is the name of it. And this is a brain region. I guess this would be a neuroscience question. This is a brain region that grows when you do things that you don't want to do, like that are uncomfortable, or, like an ice bath or a run or whatever it is. Like, this part of the brain gets bigger. And he made the connection that people who have a bigger part of this brain typically are healthier, typically live longer. They typically have, higher incomes or whatever it is. So it's like, it sounds like this is the discipline muscle, that the muscle of, doing the uncomfortable thing. And I'm just curious, man, if we could like figure out how to access that, not, and maybe the muscle, maybe the actual part of the brain, or just the, what would it be? Skill maybe of doing the uncomfortable thing, that the yeah, maybe it is a skill. Maybe it's probably can be developed. If we can access that and do that thing to get us out of where we are, I feel like that is the door, the pathway to a better life. I mean, I know that sounds simple, but it's not. It's not simple.
Well, if you look at that part of the brain, okay, the uncomfortable part of the brain, as we call it, it's actually tied to the basal ganglia, which is our repetition, strength, and confirms. So although it's uncomfortable, if you keep the routine and pattern around that, so then it's going round and round, it then becomes a working part of the brain. And you can do that with anything. You can do it with anything. But unless the reps are there, a bit like going to a gym and building your biceps, unless the reps are there, you're not going to move any forward. So the reps of doing something uncomfortable, layman's terms, stepping out the comfort zone and trying this 99.9% of the time, man, you'll be so glad you did. But then it becomes a working part of the mind. Like Gary Brecker keeps trying to get me to do cold baths, man. I did it once. I say, you crazy? He does it every single day, man. He swears by it, you know, but he's not uncomfortable anymore with it. He needs it every morning to start his day. But that was the most important thing you can put a human being through.
But then that also, that same framework, you can take that and apply it to other areas in your life. So, you know, if you do the uncomfortable thing, you do it long enough, that can translate to a sales meeting, that can translate to starting a business, you know, pursuing this partnership. I mean, it's just like, it's so easy for us to be on the outside and look into this self-development space and see it as something that's, you know, whatever you see it as, but it's like, this is a real thing, man. Like these little small wins compound over time.
Yeah, because subconscious brain wakes up in the morning. That's the guy that wants to run the day. So you're going to stay where the subconscious keeps you. Imagine if we could squash the subconscious brain and introduce the conscious brain first thing in the morning. The conscious brain is a guy living in the now and can achieve anything. Well, we can. We have a routine for that, to start that off, and it's uncomfortable and you don't want to do it and you might miss a day. It's like, get back on it till it becomes a working part of the brain. And if you, and listen, typical, God, this was so long ago. I was in America, so it must have been within the 18 years I've been here. He had a terrible job. He was divorced. He never saw his kids. He hated his job, but he couldn't afford to stop it. His boss was horrible. I said, what's your hobby? He said, well, I like to knit. Don't laugh at me. I like to knit. And I'm not laughing. What do you do? I knit socks for the family. I said, really? That's really interesting. Why don't we get you a website? Why don't we get you a business card? You know, we did the whole thing with him. And it's like, oh my God, try and sell one sock a month. And he did. He come back. He said, Dr. Orr, I've sold like 5 pairs of socks. How crazy is that, man? And I said, I know. We keep doing that until that income over succeeds the income you're getting now. That guy owns, I'm not going to mention it, that guy owns one of the biggest sock companies in the world. In actual fact, when you buy a sock, they donate the sock. But it all started of that belief that just make one pair. But it was every morning, didn't actually. So morning came out 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock till 12 was making socks. Then he got to sleep. 9 o'clock till 12 was making socks. So the basal ganglia picks it up and it becomes a working part of the mind. When it becomes a working part of the mind, it's kind of called the knee-jerk reaction. You don't have to think about it. You're in that routine. And the more you stay in that routine, the easier that routine becomes. And so you don't even have to think about it. It's like driving a car. It's so big. The first lesson is, I might hit, oh God, don't speak. I need to concentrate. After a couple of months, man, you could reverse down the driveway, talking to the girlfriend, waving to your mom and listening to music at the same time, and you don't even know you're doing it. Did you reverse out the drive? Oh, did I? Yeah, I might. That's where you need to get the mindset for your success, whatever that looks like for you. I always thought it was money. I was so wrong. Turns out my biggest success in my life was getting my 2 daughters back in my life after 30 years of destruction. You know, but the more we do it, it's like learning any craft. Playing a guitar, but when you do it, if you do it every single day, you become amazing at it. We can put that to anything in your life that you want to do. And years ago, I used to say this to people before neuroscience came out. I knew there was something different. I said, look, you can become anything you want in the world. And the biggest backline they used to say was, I can't be president of the United States. That's what they used to say to me. Let's forget political views. I'm not into politics. We had a freaking business and run the country for 4 years with no political experience whatsoever. Don't fucking dare tell me you can't achieve your goals, because it's just not true.
So this is why I think we have a routine. You mentioned a routine, and the what'd you say, the which area is it? Which part of the brain is it that gets in this routine?
Basal ganglia.
Okay, so this is why establishing a routine when we're trying to pursue a goal, that's why that's so important.
Yeah, if you don't have a routine or a pattern around that, because you can change patterns. I'm going to show you before we go to change patterns. Yeah, you're not going to, we all start something, we never finish. We always kind of go something, but might be late. It's all this, every successful person has a routine in their life. Some might be the crazy guys getting up at 4:00, spend time myself, go for a run. That's great. It's not me. But we get a pattern as we wake up, and we stick to that pattern. Like I get my patients and guys to write 5 things down every morning when they wake up. I'm going to complete that day. Now, you could do 1,000 things that day, but you have to complete them 5 things you've wrote down. And if 300 neural pathways die every day, which they do, then what you're replacing them with is 5, check, 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 check. And you've succeeded 5 times, and the brain takes that. The more we do it, the more healthy neural pathways. The more we do it, the more self-sabotaging neural pathways go. It's that simple.
Now, and I'm assuming the same is true for a negative behavior that we repeat every day.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much negative behavior that we do and probably don't even know we're doing it. That's keeping you stuff down. What we tell ourselves is what we believe, and then the actions come from it. We're worse than people telling us something. Oh, hang on a sec, I've dropped a pen. You idiot. You got to stop that, guys. Because the subconscious brain, the subconscious brain is a nasty guy. Okay? And it keeps and keeps and keeps. Now you're going to date that girl, buy that house, go for that job. And do you know what happens an hour before the exam, or an hour before comes out?
Yep.
What an idiot. What a piece of crap you are. Unless you clear that up, you're never going to succeed to your full potential.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. When we think these things or do these things over and over every day, that is reinforced, and that reinforces pathways in the brain. And that's how we, I guess, over time, whatever we're trying to do or pursue, the habits that we have, that's how it changes us, basically.
If you, like I said before, if the brain doesn't know the difference between the true and the false. So can you imagine thinking something that is crazy that you never do, but you think it every single day and you claim it every single day? It happens. We used to travel. We started started at home, but when we got our first office, I'm not kidding you, Cody, it was probably 12 by 12. That was it. A little chair and a desk. That's all I had. But when I used to go, it was the 7th floor, which is I bought on the 7th of the 7th. I used to claim every day. I used to visualize it walking in that office before I walked in my time. This office with huge glass doors and like 12 offices inside it. I used to claim it every single day and used to pretend to walk up to the place and pretend I was going in the door. It was lots, of course, because nobody was renting it. And I did that for about 3 or 4 months. And then one day my assistant comes in and goes, "Hey, I've just been speaking to the owners while I was paying the rent. Do you want that office is next to you?" And yeah, I don't think we can afford that. I keep claiming it. He said, "Well, it's going to give it you free for 6 months, and then half the rent for another 6 months." And then I got it. And do you know what the unit number was? 777. You keep going over in your mind. It becomes a working part of the mind, which becomes the truth, which becomes reality.
So do you think that when we are in that situation and we think those things, do you think that we attract those things to us, or do we just become more aware of the possibilities that are relevant to that thought? I know that's a very big question.
Sorry, I'm a great believer in law of attraction, like the thing I was telling you. But I think it's both. I really do. Because if I wouldn't have done that every morning, because when I'm doing that every morning, I kind of belong to that place. It's kind of mine anyway, in my mind. That's all it is. So when it's offered to you, you go, "Oh yeah, okay, brilliant." You don't freak out and go, "Oh," and then the past trauma comes in. It's like, "You'll never be good enough, blunt enough, thin enough, or rich enough. I don't know." No, you claim it every day. It becomes yours. So when you finally offered it, it's like, we take patients, and have done since day one, people that have either trying to build businesses or lost them and want to try. I take them to the Porsche dealerships and we ride around in them Porsches. I'm not talking about the 911s. I'm talking about the 911 S's, turbos, the GTs. I'm talking about
Right.
$270,000 cars. And then when we do that a couple of times, we go to the houses over $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and I walk him around that while we're trying to build a business up with him. We're getting the website and do all this. The reason why we do that is we're priming the mind. So when you actually are going to do that, because you will, we've had nobody fail yet. When you go and sit in that car or get the keys for the house, you're not going to freak out. The old,
Right.
the Section 8 housing boy's not going to, oh my God. And no, you're going to go, hey, this feels comfortable. Just like the comfort box. This feels comfortable. I like it here because it's already yours in your mind.
So this law of attraction, where do you think that comes from? Is that from the universe, from God? Is that from a higher self?
I didn't speak to myself about that, but I'll tell you something. We've done research. Coming from my addiction and alcohol background, I've never seen a sober atheist in my life. I just haven't seen it. Okay. So we wanted to delve in more. Like 95% of our work used to be addiction. Now it's only 5%. So what we figured out with our test, and it took us about 2 years for this survey and trial and testing this stuff. But we believe that the energy in the mind, you can't see it, feel it, touch it, but it runs the brain. Mind over matter. When this guy connects, and we've done tests on this, I'll tell you about in a second. When this connects to another power outside you, and we change the neural pathways, your DNA changes. That's our research. Your DNA changes. And we also found that being the authentic you and not full of fear can take you to another level. So we asked 10 people to come into the office and drink coffee and chat. I said, 15 minutes, we'll give you $200 each. Oh, brilliant, we're coming. We stuck them in here, wired them up to the heart and wired them up to the head to see what was going on. And they drank coffee and they mingled, talked to each other. When a doctor met another doctor, the scale they hit was 30% because they both had something in common. When a mechanic met a surgeon, because they didn't know whatever they did for a job, it went up by 10%. Later on, while we're talking to them and making sure that we're trying to be authentic, the last test we did is a road sweeper, a dustman, trash can man or whatever, was talking to a surgeon, but they were both being authentic. It jumped to 100%. So the authenticity of oneself, once you start believing who you are and what you can do, even if you only believe it 10, 20, 30, 40%, when you're being authentic while you're carrying this out, you're running at 100%, man. You cannot stop a human being at 100% activity or failing at nothing. It just doesn't happen. So we get super guys, we get superheroes, we get supermen and superwomen through here. We change them from broken to anything they want to do.
That's fast. That's actually fascinating. This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy. The reason that I was asking that, because you were talking about taking these people, going to the Porsche dealership, going to get that, looking at the nice house. And so I think, I don't know, man, I think self-belief, and I was talking to somebody about this recently also, I think self-belief is just part of the equation, because it's like, okay, if you think that this comes from a higher power, whether it's God, the universe, your higher self, whatever, if you think that comes from a higher power, I don't know anything else that should inspire you more than that, because it's like that thing, that opportunity, or at the very least, that thought of that thing comes from somebody that is not currently you in this minute. It comes from a higher place. Yeah. So if we have that on our side, I mean, yes, the self-belief is a huge piece of it, but it's like that higher power is on your side because that you are inspired from a higher place because of that. And that is incredibly empowering.
It is. And we've millions of times we know this works, and especially work with me and the patients I've had, is like, I call mine God. I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. I know that my God does not need me at a certain place at a certain time on a Sunday to reach it. I don't believe in that. I don't read it.
Right.
But I have a God in my life. So when I first started this journey, I didn't believe in God. And my guy who was mentoring me said, listen, I've got something to tell you. How terrible of you to even think like that. There's 1,500 gods in the universe. Just fucking pick one, Rob. That's what started me off. I'm like, okay, then, just out of spite, I've got God in it. And the stuff that happens to you once you get that spiritual connection, once you start standing in that sunlight of the spirit and start helping people, you will grow and grow and grow and grow. That's it. I mean, you can either believe me or not. And again, I don't give a shit if you do or not. Like, I've got my results, proven. But it really is that simple, guys. And people want to complicate it. And people want to put dampers on it. And, people don't believe in you and not validating you. I was in Dallas for 14 years, Cody. I said to my guys all the time, thinking writing a book. Ha, ha, ha. Well, you're stupid. You're not an author. Don't be silly, Rob. It's just your story. Never wrote a book. Come down to San Antonio 4 years ago, said to my new friends, thinking of writing a book. Well, they almost killed me for not already writing one. Are you kidding? Your book needs to be... I wrote a book. That's the deal we're talking about. It's not complicated, guys. We've turned the guys that are claiming social benefit into, $100 million car dealerships. We've turned, broken down actors to the biggest, highest paid movie stars. We've worked with nurses, doctors. We've worked with road sweepers, anybody, taking them up to the best of their 100% ability. That's what we do. And a lot of it is subliminal work, like the 9D therapy stuff. But once we can plant stuff in your brain, you start to believe it, whether you like it or not. And therefore, so this is a real test, okay? Mm-hmm. Back in the late 70s, early 80s. We'd heard this before. I went to a school, and we said to the school, there was 3 of us that were researching. We said to the school, we have a test, an exam thing. It's like 10 minutes. All your students between 9 and 12 can do it. We'll come back the next day and we'll tell you the top 3 in school. What do you mean the top 3? The top most educated, who's going to be captains of industry, CEOs. And he said, it's impossible. They said, would you let us do it? And he checked with his board. He come back and said, we'd be interested. So he came in next day, handed all these forms out. They did this testing, questions, like 15 questions, handed it back to him. We come back the next day and we've got your top 3. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, who is it? Well, first of all, there's Julie. Julie? Like Julie Smith? Yep, 100%. Okay, then there's Billy. Okay, and there's John. Can you double check John? I mean, he's not really doing anything. He's behind on it. Telling you now that's 100% true. We have the records here and we've shown him the 3 names. We'll be back in 12 months' time to see how these 3 guys are going on. 12 months to the day, we went back and we said, how's our guys doing? Oh my God, we need to pass this to the government. How the hell did you know that them 3 misfits, they've had an offer from college already, they're 3, I can't, how? And we said, well, when we left here, we threw all the papers away and we picked 3 random students out of your classes. And we told you that they were geniuses. And because you treated them like geniuses, so they become. And that's how the mind works. You hang around 9 depressed people, you're going to become the 10th.
Yeah, that's very profound, man. That goes back to the kind of the self-sabotage thing you mentioned earlier. I think that's a very real thing. So I wanted to ask you about imposter syndrome. So, because, we feel this, we try to do something new and we feel that, maybe we're not there yet. Or like you said, you come from a Section 8 housing place and you feel like, oh, well, you're not going to be this person. You can never be this person. So what's going on there? I mean, what's going on with imposter syndrome? Not feeling like we are the person who's capable of doing this because of, where we were born or whatever.
Yeah. It's coming away from that poverty. It's coming away from that lack of when you were growing up. And then what we've been talking about today, you change the way you want to live, or you take a different direction. But the other trauma is still there, so we're still back on the projects. So I remember the first time I sat down at Oxford. I'm the only guy to go to school. Now, I was a Freemason at an early age. There's a long story behind it, but he got me into Oxford. Absolutely crazy, mind-blowing. And I was playing at Abbey Road at the time, music, so I was getting paid a lot of money. But the first day I sat down, I felt awkward. First day I sat down to dinner, Cody, there was 7 forks on one side, 7 knives on the other side. There was a little spoon that had a fork on it, and there was 6 or 7 desserts in it. I was horrified. I had no idea what to do. Imposter syndrome. So and my mind started, you don't belong here. What the hell do you think you're doing? Look at these guys. They come from money. You don't come from money. You're a piece of shit. What are you doing? And it was right there and then I realized, shut up and watch others. And that's what I did. And as I see the guys eating from the outside coming in, then I knew when the oyster fork got picked up, then I knew. And that's how I kind of not conquered, but tried to learn that how my mind will take me back to not good enough. And it always happens. And again, it's that never be tall enough, blonde enough, thin enough, or rich enough syndrome. It's like you have to get out for that. So how do we get away from that? Well, we start hanging around the guys that we want to be. You see, you can't influence 10 people around you, but 10 people around you can influence you. So how do we know that? Well, again, we checked, studied, researched everything that I say today and every day. So we got 9 actors in the waiting room, pretending to be patients. And one patient, I said I would see free of charge. And she came in and she didn't know, but the others were actors. She thought the others were patients. 9 actors, 1 real patient. The actors were told, you'll hear a buzzer every 45 seconds. When you hear, I want you to stand up for 5 seconds, then sit down. This is how much influence people around you can have on you. First buzzer went up, all 9 actors stood up for 2 seconds, sat down again. She kind of looked around, back to her phone. They all stood up again. Now the phone's kind of put on her knee and she's looking around. Everyone sat down. On the third buzzer, she stood up with everybody else. Then she sat down. Now they've influenced her already. And now she knows. We called them actors in one by one as if they were patients till she was the only person left in the waiting room. She stood up. People around you can affect you in such a crazy way that you can't hang around people that you don't want to be. You just can't, because you will become one of those.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense too, because I think, talk about addictions or whatever, you see people who, in these circles, it's very difficult for them to get out of that addiction if they stay in the circle with those people. Something that this reminds me of too is like the entrepreneur, the journey of being an entrepreneur, a business owner, a high performer. These people by nature are like going against the grain of what society says or what. So like there's a lot of loneliness in that. There's a lot of loneliness in being a high performer or being bringing something to the world that doesn't exist. Or, even if you lead a company, you're leading a company, and there's less leaders than there are not leaders. So it's just by nature, it's a lonely journey. I feel like with those things, with those avenues.
When I first came here, I had this method that was working from this spiritual awakening I had with this guy that we could never find. I came over here and I started teaching and practicing, and people were getting well. The Texas Psychology Board thought I was doing wrong. I was hurting people. I was going against the grain, and they stripped me of my license. A couple of years later, I got my license back. Now I teach for them doctors and surgeons and boards. I teach those people in power. I teach all about addiction and alcoholism and child. I teach them because it was the loneliest journey of my life. But you know something? I knew I was onto something. I knew I had a cure for most of them go through. And every time I worked with something, they got well. And we started recording it, and I kept going and I kept going. I was disheartened. I had no license. I couldn't practice. It was crazy. I got my house foreclosed on. When I came over here, I got a little house. They took the house away. I was living with a friend. And I kept going and kept going and kept going until finally people were going, what the hell is this Dr. Robb doing? And I was presented with my license back, and I opened 5 clinics around the world. And then guys are trying to follow and imitate what we do today, but we're far more advanced than that. So yeah, there was days when I just want to give up and go back home. There's days that I just want to commit, put a knife in me or something and just call it a day because everybody seemed to be against me. And then it's just when you think outside the box, it can get lonely until you find your tribe. Once you find your tribe around you that believe in what you do and will support in what you do and will stand up for you when you're not in the room and somebody starts to diss you, once you find your tribe around you and you march forward, you start to succeed. People start listening. It's like Oasis. The guys in Oasis were my friends back in the day. We used to hang around together. They managed to tell them categorically, you will never be famous in Manchester, but let me take you down to Glasgow. And they played in Glasgow and they got a record deal and they travel over the world. You never can be famous in your own town. Oh, it's just Jimmy. Look at Bob up there. Look at that student. You have to be taken outside that comfort zone and presented somewhere else where nobody knows you. That's why God sent me over here for 2 weeks. I stayed. I wasn't going back home after the 2 weeks. And the miracles that's happened from there, I've lost count how many times I've had miracles, and I've lost count how many times I've seen miracles with people that we're working with. And, we get thousands of cards every year thanking us that, the family's this and that and everything's good. It's like, it's unbelievable.
What do you think it was that kept you going during that period, that lonely period where you were just really misunderstood and, you lost your license and you lost your house, I think you said. What was it that kept you going?
So back when I was homeless, I was outside a liquor store in the morning. I'm on the streets. I'm homeless. I'm shaking, sweating. I got a banging headache. The guy's not supposed to serve alcohol till 10, and it's 5 a.m. in the morning. But he knows I suffer from alcoholism. So I can't even talk properly. I'm going into heavily DTs. If I don't get alcohol in my body or get to hospital, I'm going to die. I knew that I was going to die. The guy opened the door, and for whatever reason, this day, this is what happened. Oh God, there you go. And he put the bottle on. Hey, buddy, having a great morning. Not even open the bottle. I remember looking at the bottle, and everything had gone. No headaches, no sweats, nothing. My mood instantly. I looked back at the shopkeeper, looked back at the bottle, and went, holy shit, this isn't about the alcohol. This isn't about the alcohol. And so when I started to people diss me or hear, I just knew I was onto something. Because the more stories I heard about, and we did our test, picking somebody up who wanted a drink, we're going to pay for everything, we'll take you there, we'll buy the drink, we'll take you back home. And what we found was the most intoxicating part of that was not the alcohol, it was the journey to the liquor store. So when we found out as well, I was really excited, and we just kept on and kept on. I come from the project, man. I know how to fight, I know how to survive. I know I'm like a chameleon. I can sit in the boardroom and woe you all day long. You take me to the shop floor and I can fight with any of them out there. It's just something I've always had, that I believe what I do, and I continue. And no matters who's against you at the time, guys, doesn't make any difference. They'll be for you. Just if you have a belief, if you have a business, if you have an idea, if you have a yearning for your kids back or whatever, and you believe it to be right and true, you don't stop. I lost my kids for 30 years, man. And people say to me today, they go, I lost my kids, just come out of rehab. She took the kids and I don't know what to do. And my answer is fight for them kids. Fight for them kids. And you've just got to fight, guys, until the fight becomes a working part of the life and it's not a fight anymore. But never, ever give up. The only times J.K. Rowling was turned down, the only times the Beatles were turned down. Mm-hmm. Now, you have something, so everyone's got something. Carry on.
So this brings us full circle, because it sounds like how you got through this was like what we talked about earlier, overcoming yourself. You had overcome yourself already. And then now, when you were pursuing this thing that ended up being this business that you're working on, you were able to refer to that, to who you were, regardless of what the outside said.
Yeah, it built strength. There's two things that was healing for me. Building the strength coming off the streets, which is a crazy story how I did that, and writing a book. And if you're writing a book was so healing for me. And after, just coincidence maybe, I don't know, I'm sure it was God. But after I wrote the book, which is about 5 years ago, we wrote it over 3 or 4 years. When I finished the book but didn't have a title, that's when my daughter at 3 o'clock in the morning texted me on Messenger after 30 years. And she called me Dad. And we flew over in 4 hours. We're at her door, we're hugging, crying. And then she took me by my hand and she walked me into the living room and she handed me, Cody, my 3-month-old granddaughter. And while we were there with all these miracles happening, I was done. God could have killed me right there and then. I was happy. But then we didn't have a title and we were talking about the book. because I didn't know she'd ever be in my life. And I said, I don't know what to call it. And she said, Dad, why don't you call it the last thing I said to you? I said, what was that? She said, Daddy, please stop drinking. It makes you stronger, guys. It makes you stronger and stronger and stronger. Fights don't happen in the yard. Fights don't happen in street brawls. Fights happen here. Why do you think everyone looks at boxers like, no, it's all organized. It's mental against mental all the time. What you do with this is it's not the fight. This is the fight. And you have to believe you've already won. Never give up. You should never give up until you win.
So, people that I talked to on the podcast, man, it was a similar, thing to everybody has a thing to overcome, but this is what this reminds me of, is this hero's journey. The hero's journey. We hear the story about the hero, the dragon guards the treasure. When the hero slays the dragon, he gets the treasure. He or she gets the treasure. And it's like, this makes so much sense, because it's like we're all on that journey for ourselves.
We are.
We all have that battle. And I think, this is just me personally. I think being able to fight, and I don't mean physically with another person, I mean having that battle in your life, whatever that is, being able to have that battle, I think goes a long way than just trying to get through the battle, because then you become a person who's capable of making it through these things and pursuing this journey that is your hero's journey. It's just like, it's like being able to have the battle or solve the problem, I think is more valuable than the destination that you think it leads to, because that's what it takes to pursue the journey.
I 100% agree with that. It's exactly what it is. Everybody has that battle. You've got to find a way to conquer it. And there's always an answer. It might be a small battle, it might be a big battle, but it's always there, you against you, because that becomes the conscious brain and the subconscious brain. Can I do it? No, you can't. Can I do it? No, you can't. It's like this all the time. During the day, if you don't get the patterns and know how to get rid of the subconscious brain for that day and ignite the conscious brain, you're always going to be in that imposter syndrome. You're always going to be in that self-sabotaging behavior. And once that pattern gets a grip, you're going to turn around when you're 80 years old and go, what the hell? I wish I'd have took that opportunity. I wish I'd have started that career. I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have played my daughter more. It's like you have to realize, guys, it's now. You've only got now. What can happen now? Are you scared about tomorrow? Now, right now, when I'm talking to you? Are you breathing? There's no fear when we breathe. Every illness in the body starts in a hypoxic area. We only breathe 45% of our lung capacity again. Once you know how to breathe, how to ignite the conscious and get rid of the subconscious, know your power and your worth, you're unstoppable. But you see all that stuff that we go through, guys. I always thought my homelessness was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Now I realize it was like a semester at Harvard University. From what I learned through them tragic, terrible times, it then becomes my greatest asset moving forward. Because if you can relate to somebody and you're doing it, and they want it, they're going to follow you and believe in you, man. But I'm a great believer, unless you've been through this, you can't teach this. I don't give a shit how many degrees on the wall, and they're 1% of what I do, maybe, and that's to get me indoors. What is the real heal is the spiritual awakening with that guy, and my 14 months on the streets of what I'd learned. It's because people say today, Dr. Robb, what do you know? You've never been, check. Never lost your kids, check. Never been stabbed to death, check. Never died, check. But you've done all this stuff. Like, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of nothing. And if I'm not afraid of nothing in the now, you cannot be afraid of anything in the now, because you've got somebody in front of you that's done it. And you get your watch out for the naysayers, man, or the haters, as they call it. Nobody who's doing it as good or better than you will ever say anything negative about you. But you're going to get the guys who look at him, who does he think he is? He can't do that. Yeah. What are they do? Look at the source. Are you talking about that 290-pound guy who's been divorced 3 times, now living with his mum and dad in the old bedroom that used to grow? Are you going to take advice off him? I don't think so.
Well, what's really fascinating is the people that quote unquote have it figured out, or the people that are making things happen. I mean, they feel the same things that we're talking about right here. Like, these people feel the same thing. Everybody, that's ever done anything has felt imposter syndrome. They have felt that fear. They felt the discomfort, and they just found a way to do it anyways. And so like it's easy for us when we're on the outside looking in to look at these people as if they have some sort of gift or talent or skill, and they might, but they still feel the same. They still feel the same things. They felt the same thing we're talking about, and they just did it anyways.
Yeah, because lack of information in my industry is 99% of the problem. Nobody knows you can do this shit because the general belief is you can't. I'm here to tell you that your weight does not define you. Your color does not define you. Your education does not define you. Stop that shit. Are you still talking as a victim? Or are you talking as a free man? Because if you're still talking that victim mode, I'm always suffering from alcoholism. You'll always be a victim. Step up from that shit. And you need to do it aggressively. And you need to fucking do it today. Because everyone thinks they have time. Oh, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, Doc. Why? Why not do it today? Yeah, it's only, and then you get the guy at work and the boss comes in and you go, hey, Jimmy, I need that report by Friday, 9:00. Don't forget. Yeah, boss, no problems. Monday, Tuesday, it's miles off. Wednesday, I've got to get a report Thursday. Oh, I should get that report Friday morning at 7. He's in early now, typing away on his keyboard. And at 1 minute to 9, he presses send. Do you know what he tells himself? I work well under pressure. Nobody works well under pressure. Stop that shit. That's old believing from the old self. Mm-hmm. Why would you work under pressure when you can do it today? Do it now. If I'm sat on the couch tonight and my wife next to me and I've got the dogs around me, a big can of Coke, I don't drink Coke, but let's say a big bag of chips, and I say to my wife, thinking of going to the gym tomorrow, I'm not going to the gym tomorrow. She knows it. The dogs know it. Even the cat's walking by going, yeah, I don't think so. But within that 7.3 second time frame, if I get up for a second, put the movie on pause, go into the bedroom, get the sneakers and the shorts, either put it in my car or put it near the door when I'm going to walk out, there's a good chance of me going. But we put things off. So the central thought pattern has to be romanced. Just like a negative thought pattern can be romanced for the worst, like drinking and stuff. Positive needs to be romanced. If you have a great idea, move today towards it. I'm thinking of starting a website now. Buy the domain name now. 1 minute I'm waving them off to college. Next minute I'm waving them off to school. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We don't have time. And how do we get this information? Again, let's research it. That went to a hospice with most of our friends over the years that were put in there. We asked them a question. And the generalized answer was, I thought I had more time. We don't. Boom, baby, let's do this.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm getting to the point on this conversation where the likelihood that I'm going to say something stupid is getting higher and higher because this is just testing me. This is just like, I'm having to really think hard about this conversation, which I love. I love that. I do want to ask you before we leave, do you get into mental health at all? Do you work in the mental health space or do you focus just on the...
No, mental health is what we're about.
Okay. So like the depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
What was that?
Everything due to mental health, we heal.
Okay. So like with things like depression, anxiety, is that sort of I think it's much easier to think about those things being a consequence of childhood trauma than it is addiction. Is it still sort of the same, I guess the same pathway, or is it the same system with those things? Is it basically just a soothing mechanism from trauma? I know, clinical depression is a little bit different, but,
well, trauma and depression and PTSD is what that's 90% of our work, and it's doing that.
Okay.
But this is what happens in America. I'm feeling depressed. Jenny, what should go to the doctor. Okay, go to the doctor, feel depressed. While you're telling him you're depressed, he's writing a prescription out for you. He's not asking what your diet is like, what your life is like, how many times you get outside, exercise routine. He's writing a prescription for a false serotonin. So we go back home, we start to take this false serotonin. Now, two things. Our own serotonin can't go any higher than this false one. Now you're stuck on this medication for the rest of your life. Our own serotonin depletes until you're only dependent upon this. Question. Why the hell are we not asking ourselves why my serotonin is low in the first place? Because if you look in the American medical dictionary under depression, it says 6 or 7 words, And part of them words are lack of serotonin. It does not say, go back and find out what is your mum depressed and bad. Lack of serotonin. That's how it medically describes. We can create serotonin with our food, with our make sure you get methylated vitamins, and you can be as happy as you want. There's a process you go through where you can get free of that stuff. Like I've done thousands of these, and I can tell you up to date for, I think it's 9 years. I don't know how long, 8 years. Something like 40% of podcasters end up working with me because they've taken it to this. And after you know what the deal is, they want to get to 100%. And what we say is, why haven't you gone to 100% before? What's stopping you? You're meant to be here. You're meant to be doing this podcast, that job. You're meant to do it. Why are you stopping here? And we find out that the stuff we've been talking about is the barrier. I could name 2 podcasters now I've worked with that everybody knows. When I say everybody knows, everybody knows. And they were here. And now I think one of them gets paid a lot of money to do this shit. Because it's just that taking people to the next level. There's depression, PTSD, all that stuff, you know. And then we're researching on dementia and Alzheimer's, and addiction's 5% of our practice right now around the world. 95% is the childhood trauma, the depression, the assaulted when young, all this belief that we're limited. Most people with that kind of background put the brakes on their imagination because you get a mindset, well, I know I'm going to fail, so I'm just not going to do it. Or I know relationships, I know you're going to end with me, right? So I'm going to end with you now. You can't live like that, man. That's not life. When people come in, we do this 9D thing online now, but when people take their earphones off, they go, what the hell was that? It's like 9-dimensional subliminal voices around you.
Right.
Go, oh my God, Dr. Robb, I feel amazing. And what we say to them is, no, you don't. You feel normal. Because that's the way you're supposed to feel 24 hours a day. But you got sucked into this noise. You're going to stay there.
But I wonder though if that thought or that belief was there to begin with, and you just helped them realize it. You know, because I've heard people in the hypnotherapy space, they'll say like they don't like I know we're talking about different things here, but hypnotherapy, it's just like they don't tell you what to believe. You already believe that. They just guide you towards it. Is the way I understand it.
We believe that every single neural pathway for health, for wealth, for success, the best dad, whatever it is already built in your head. There are billions, if not trillions, of neural pathways. We believe they're already built. What happens is this. There's my neural pathway, for instance, to become a millionaire or become wealthy, okay? We already have, that's what I like about you, Cody, you go really deep. We already have the neural pathways, but they can't connect because of the trauma. They can't connect because of that thing somebody says. And when you finally connect them, that's what we do in a nutshell. Once they're connected, let's say it's wealth, you cannot break that neural pathway. So that neural pathway to wealth would happen. Why would it not be connected there? People can't the trauma.
And you're saying it's the trauma that's stopping most people
100%.
From that.
100. You see that with the basal ganglia, what happens is the clock face again, 10 after, we relapse, 20 after, we're depressed, I've passed, the kids come back, 22, the wife comes back, 10-2, we self-sabotage. That can be anything from addiction to childhood trauma to depression to PTSD, whatever it is, right there, the basal ganglia, 10 to the hour, we self-sabotage. That could be a minute, it could be an hour, day, week, year, we don't know about, but it's self-sabotage. And the belief that somebody can show you how to change your life in 30 seconds. We've never had anybody come out the first session and go, holy shit. Or, that was okay, but I don't know. No, never. You're subliminally worked on for the minute you get out of your car in this establishment. Like, we've tried and tested again. Dallas Cowboy, staunch freaking Dr. Pepper drinker, came in the office. When he got his first visit, how do we get him relaxed enough so I can do some subliminal work? Well, when he gets out of the car, you can't see her because she's over here somewhere, but she's wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat and a jersey, Dallas Cowboys on it. So then he walks in the office. He sits down in the waiting room. There's a Dallas Cowboys poster on the wall. Somebody will walk out. Oh, you like the cowboy? Oh my God, because we've researched him. So when he gets into the room, he feels that we're already friends and we're already ready to go and everything's going good and he's in a great mood all of a sudden, but he felt shit 20 minutes ago. He doesn't know that we've been doing that. He doesn't know the subliminal work. So we did another test on him. You come in and go, hey, you want a Coke? Don't give me that Coke. Give me a Texas Dr. Pepper every time for 3 months. One day, we got out of the car. We said, can we take you on a drive? He said, yeah, of course you can. My chauffeur took him around. They passed 3 Coke billboards. When we drove back, when they pulled in the car park, there was a girl there, really stunningly pretty, with a Coca-Cola t-shirt on. When we walked towards the door, there was a can of Coke sort of in the hedge, almost hidden away. You got in the elevator, same thing. Little thing in the corner, business card, Dallas Cowboy thing on it. Sorry, with the Diet Coke thing on it. So all of a sudden now he's seen 5 images of Coca-Cola without him knowing. We brought him in the office. My girl said, do you want Dr. Pepper? And he said, no, I'll try a Diet Coke. That's how easy it is to change people. But they're stuck in patterns. Once you start the subliminal work with people, you can program minds.
Well, that's certainly already happening with the marketing industry. I mean, you drive down any freeway, any interstate, and you're just inundated with billboards. You know, you get on Facebook or any social media, any website, there's just ads all over the place. And to think that that's not influencing us is just crazy, because that's $1 billion industry that people know about, and that they like these companies are using this to influence us. So it's definitely there. I guess my question would be, like, once that, how is there even a way, like, once you get maybe to the point that you want to be, like, let's say working with you, once you get to the point where you want to be, how can you not be influenced from that point, from these outside influences? Again, I guess would be the question. I mean, I guess because like if you do this work, you do all this work on yourself, and if you are influenced in this way, you probably don't want to revert back to what it was to begin with, you know?
DNA change, solid neural pathway reset away completely from. And we have things you have to do when you leave us. You know, there's certain things we ask you to keep doing throughout your life. It takes about 10, 15 minutes, that's all. But the idea is that you never go back to the bad habit or bad pattern. You never do it. You stay in the same pattern you are now. And that the only biggest enemy for anybody is complacency. We do get complacent. And when we ask people, or we tell people, when you do that, you got to call us and come back in and we'll tune you up for 2 days, something like that. So we have a few of them coming in and just tuning up. But no, there's a great line from a band in Manchester called James. And it says, and this is not purely money, but it says, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. Once you see that other side, man, I'm telling you, once you get your kids back, build a business, earn your first million, buy your first daughter that car, once you get a piece of that, man, it just reinforces the patterns in your brain that you never go back. It just doesn't happen.
Look, I could keep going with this, but this is what I need to do. I need to wrap up shortly, because I'm like, this is, I got to digest this, man. I've been thinking for like 90 minutes here about this conversation, and this is some deep stuff. Before we close up, I want to ask you this: do you make a connection at all, or get involved with fitness in any kind of way, the mind body connection? Do you work with anybody in that space, or is that not just general health or fitness? Is that connected to anything that you do?
It's connected to everything we do, to be honest. The food and the exercise is the key. You know, the food that we eat is killing us, canola oils, sunflower oil, or any seeds, oil seeds. So, I work with all of that. We have to be eating right. Four chemicals, neurochemicals need to happen every day to keep yourself happy. It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Great. We can take our supplements or get sunshine or whatever. What most people don't know is the good stuff, the dopamine and the serotonin is created in the gut. So what we eat affects how we perform. So we're definitely into that. We're definitely into breath work and health and training, making sure we're the best person they can be, meditating again, yoga. You know, we'll take people to yoga 2 or 3 times a week. We're all planned into one of a healthy lifestyle, because we were aghast when we found out the shit that we eat today and how the food industry is killing us. We were aghast, my research. So let's say there was probably the worst food you can have is McDonald's fries, let's say, for instance. So you go over to England and you buy McDonald's fries and there's 3 ingredients in it. It's salt and water and potato. That's it. You come over to America, there's 22 ingredients in there.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other 19 ingredients? I ask myself. Well, when we get into the food itself, most ingredients that we eat in normal food, we cannot methylate. There's definitely one. See, everybody thinks you can pass heart disease down in the family. That's not true. I've got heart disease. My dad did. He passed it down. It's hereditary. No, it's not true. It's a methylation problem with everything that we do. So let's say the staple diet at home is eggs, for instance. So let's say dad can't methylate the eggs. Well, he doesn't know that. But then there becomes a deficiency in the body. That deficiency, for this instance, causes the heart problems. Now, when I leave the house, I kind of do the same staple as mom and dad did. So I'm eating the eggs and I can't methylate it and haven't since birth. But I don't know that. And I get the same heart disease that dad's got. And I think I've caught it up now. Methylation is important. The body, you need to eat more raw foods to be at peak performance. So the training, the exercise, the breath work, the food, the neuroscience work, it all kind of blends into one. And you literally become a superpower. The superpower, man. Before you go, let me give you 3 things to do tomorrow morning that'll change your life. Okay?
Okay.
Wake up in the morning. The subconscious mind wakes us up. Why does it wake us up? The subconscious mind thrives in hypoxic situations. So between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning is when our body is at its lowest on a normal circadian sleep pattern. Mm-hmm. It's when most repairs are being done. One of the reasons nobody's woke up laughing is lack of oxygen. We need oxygen to laugh. We don't have any oxygen, wake up. So the subconscious brain is popped up and he wants to run the day. How do we get rid of that, mother? Well, we do this. When you get up in the morning, take 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. 20 of them. Get as much oxygen. We only breathe 45% of our lung capacity, guys. One of the reasons we feel so good going to the gym is not the exercise between sets. So let's get that all of a sudden, this goes. Conscious brain is now alert because you've got oxygen, so every piece in your body has oxygen. It's flooded the brain. Now the conscious brain kicks up. That guy can do anything that you want to do, period. Okay? So now we've got this guy running the show. This guy wakes us up tomorrow, by the way, because 3 parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. Then I want you to go into the bathroom. Let's change some neural pathways. If 300 die every day, how many can we put back in ourselves? How can we reprogram and repattern? If you brush your teeth, simple with the right, do a week on the left, week on the right, week on the left, week on the right. That's changing patterns. Go to the mirror. Is this can be done in 10 minutes, guys? Stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you 10 times. Now, don't get up to the mirror because girls, when you put your makeup on or guys are shaving, you see all your blemishes. That's how you think people see you. So that's the confidence we have with. But when's the last time you were in the office? Hey, Jimmy, good to see. We don't do that. But when we stand 6 feet away from the mirror, the blemishes disappear. That's the true you, what people see. So get the I loves you. We call it teeth work, mirror work, and breath work. Get them 3 in, compliment 3 people during the day, your life will change.
So I wanted to ask you about this, and I don't know if you get into this space or not. We talked about spirituality and sort of the connection to that. I guess this would be more of a neuroscience question too. So sleep, I think sleep is absolutely incredible. Like it is so important to everything in our life. And I wish I could go back and tell my younger self how important it was before I started doing all these things I'm trying to do. But so sleep and specifically dreaming in sleep. And I know this is more of a psychological question, but I think there's a connection to the dreams we have and the messages that are in the dreams, like the messages that the dreams contain. So my understanding is that we dream in REM sleep. So what's a good way for us to get more REM sleep so we can have those dreams, whether it's an actual message or just, for whatever. And I also, just the benefits of REM sleep is very important.
I'll just stay off meds if you can. No medication is good for you. You ever gone to the doctor with an illness or a disease that he's cured with the tablet pills you take and you never have to take them again? No, you haven't. So try and stay away from sleep meds. Heavy sleep meds are no good for you. You do a prep work before you go to bed, TV off 2 hours before you go, phones off an hour before you go, get into a nice warm bed, no TV or anything, set to sleep around 10, wake up at about 6. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Don't let anybody tell you, well, I do 4 hours a night. Yeah, come back to me when you're 60 and you look 80. Don't be so stupid. The body needs to be repaired. REM sleep is perfect for that deep healing and deep rest. So when we get up 8 hours later, we're rested, we're ready to go. The dream part of it, I still find fascinating, because most of the dreams I had, I take of God, that here's the things I want for you, and I'm going to give you them. And the reason I didn't get them in the first place is I didn't believe in it. And I had so many obstacles and noises in the way. So you have bad dreams. You know, some of the dreams are pertaining to what you can do in life. Mine was flying. I could always fly. Once in jail, I could fly and stuff like that. I mean, was that telling me the future would be uplifted and I'd be flying high? I mean, I just don't know. I've not done enough study into that. But the sleep itself, man, you have to get 7 to 8 hours. Really have to. And make sure it's quiet and it's dark, and just start that natural routine. And as we spoke about at the beginning, it might be awkward, you know, TV off 2 hours, phones off an hour, twiddling your thumbs, don't know what to do, you know, stuff like that. But stay with it, guys, and your sleep will become deeper and the repair will be deeper, and then you feel fantastic in the morning.
Yeah, I feel significantly different when I get enough REM sleep, you know. And if I dream, if I have a very vivid dream, man, my dreams are crazy, but I like that because it shows me that I did get enough REM sleep. And I always feel like it's crazy, because when I dream like that, I feel better the next day because I know I got enough REM. I can sleep 10 hours. If I sleep 10 hours and I don't have that REM sleep, if I don't sleep deep enough or whatever it is, I won't feel the same as if it's like 7 or 8,
Isn't that
with good REM
crazy?
sleep. Yeah.
And then
It
you
is.
can stay asleep too long. You can stay in bed. If you wake up at 7, is try and go back to sleep again, the day will be affected, because it does affect the mind, especially patterned sleep. Bed at 10, up at 6, bed at 10, up at 6. It really matters, so the body gets that circadian rhythm going, so that you fall into REM at a certain time and you stay there. And the better the healing and the mindset, and you wake up in the morning refreshed and ready to go. You do your mirror work, teeth work, and breath work. Nobody's going to stop you, man.
Well, I think that's power. That's empowering in itself. Just the proper sleep, the routine. I don't think people know, they don't know that how powerful it is.
No.
You know, having that. But listen, this has been a great conversation. Where do you have a website? Where can you be found? Do you have social medias or anything?
All of it, guys. If you're listening or not watching, I spell my name with 2 B's, ROBBKLY.com. Dr. Robb Kelly in any search engine will come up. We're on all social medias. Come and join us. Come and have fun. Come message me if you need help. I can't work with you, unfortunately. But if you need help, just like texting messenger between us. We'll sort you out, man. And if you're parents of a child that's coming through this, call the number on the website. And I have 3 girls set aside that will talk to you all day long and direct and help you walk through this. And it'll never cost you a dime. You can call 20 times a day if you want to, man. This is about educating and walking lovingly hand in hand with partners or parents of patients that are suffering. It's like we never want to do that, guys. And the other thing is, as well, is Daddy, Please Stop Drinking is the book. Last thing my daughter said to me, if you message this show or me, if you message me, say, Cody Jones show was amazing, I saw you on that, can I have a book? I got 10 copies there. I'm going to sign it, especially just for you. I'm going to sign it to you. I'm going to pay the shipping and send it to you free of charge. On what condition? That when you've read it, you pass it on to somebody else who needs that book.
Yeah, for sure. I'd actually like looking to get a copy of that. So I want to ask you this. It's something I ask everybody, and I'm excited to get your answer on this. So something I normally ask everybody before we close, if you could share one of the most important lessons you've ever learned, if it can be from your personal life, if it's something you're comfortable sharing, your career, professional life, what do you think is one of the most important lessons you've ever learned?
It's real simple and real quick. It's like, nobody cares. Stop giving a damn what people think about you. You see, we like to think we're important. When we walk into a room and close the door, everyone looks around and then they start laughing and I think it's me. Stop it. You're not that important. Stop caring what people think about you. And that was it for me. And when I realized that, and it's when you get to that real state of really not caring what people say to you, it sets you free to a new universe, man. It's like, what can you do to me? You know,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
he's a waste of time. They'll look at me, I'm stupid gay glass. Who does he think? You think I care about you? Having a go at me?
Yeah.
I have $100 million in the bank, man. I don't give a shit what you think about me. What are you going to do to me? You know? Oh,
Right.
sorry, Jimmy, who's 350 pounds in his mum's basement, is telling me that the glasses I wear are I don't give a shit, to be honest. And it's great to get there. Really is.
I think, people say, you hear people say that, they go into a crowded room or they go into a whatever sales meeting or whatever, and they're worried about what people think. But I think a lot of people, you hear that a lot of people are more concerned about themselves than they are you.
Nobody cares. They've got their own problems going on.
Yeah.
I like to think. I often say this to people: if you can get to my state, it's brilliant. Because I have one thing that not many people have, and that is enough. I have enough today. So haters, bring it on. If you've got haters, by the way, send them my way. I don't care. I have enough. I'm content, man.
Well, Dr. Kelly, listen, this has been a great conversation. If you can hang out for just a second, I'll explain to you how I upload this thing and all that good stuff. But I definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate your time and insight today. I think there was a lot of good things. I'm going to go back and listen to this thing and digest some of the stuff we talked about here. So, but I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It's good.
Hey guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you enjoyed this podcast or enjoyed this episode, you can find more at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple and Google Podcasts. There you can subscribe, like, and share and interact with all of our content. Again, we appreciate it, and we will see you next time.